On this episode, we take a ride over to our West Newton project. We touch base with the concrete guy, and we talk about a new product that we're going to be using for the floor finish over there. We also check in on progress with the plaster and the installation that we've added since last episode. From there, we're going to run over to our Boston Harbor job, and we're going to touch base with Ken and Geno on the cabinetry, as well as Brian and Derek for the electrical. And then from that job, we're going to head over to the south end, where we're going to touch base with Mike, who's working on the white oak staircase project, which is part of our Worcester Street Reno, as well as Cal, who's working on the walnut staircase project, and shows us how he's tackling the baluster install. We are here in West Newton at one of our projects, the design studio basement remodel. So since our last episode, we got all the installation done, and what we ended up going for was a closed cell spray foam installation on the entire foundation. Being an irregular foundation, it made the most sense because our walls were furred off of that foundation. We were able to spray 2 to 3 inches of closed cell foam on that existing foundation wall. But you're also going to notice that some of the walls still have framing exposed, and the reason being is those areas are actually going to get a Baltic birch finish. Rather than the traditional drywall, we're going to be doing natural Baltic birch, which we've come up with this detail that we've worked with Amy on, and it's actually going to have a small 1/8 inch gap between each panel that we may use, say, a walnut or some sort of dark wood or material to create an intentional 1/8 inch gap between every seam. On the walls, the panels are going to stand vertically, so you have the vertical grain, and all the doors are also going to be made up of a laminated Baltic birch. One of the cool details is, you'll see this in an upcoming episode, is that we're going to leave all the edges of that Baltic birch exposed. So we're going to hit that edge, really show off that multi-layer of Baltic birch plywood, and that's going to go floor to ceiling, as well as the ceiling and as well as the doors. So anytime we change direction, we're not going to miter fold anything or miter anything. You're going to see that intentional plywood edge. So let's hop inside, take a look at what's going on. Before I forget, my concrete guys are on site prepping the slab. We got this new product that we're going to be, or new to us. I know Eric's been using it for quite some time, but we're going to use this product in the basement to basically make it look like polished concrete. But being that the slab isn't in the best of shape, this is actually a trowelable material that's going to have a monolithic look throughout the entire basement. So let's check on the progress and we'll go from there. You're good. So behind here, you can see some of this framing still exposed that I had mentioned, and this entire wall here is all spray foamed. So right behind this is that irregular foundation. This right here is, the framing with the stone foundation below. So we have 2 to 3 inches of that foam sprayed. And then above me and in all the interior walls, we have this rock wool insulation, which is a Roxol. Safe and Sound is actually the product that we're using. But we filled all the cavities, so behind me here is a bedroom for a live-in nanny. So sound is important, especially transmitting sound from the living space above down. We want to try to keep that separated as best as we can. This entire space is going to be that Baltic birch that I talked about, the vertical with the 1/8 inch dark gap seams. Here on the right, here's an update on our bathroom. Concrete guys are mixing up some concrete, patching where the plumbing had to be cut out. We got a little bit more work to build this up at all one level prior to tile. But what we're standing on here is the existing concrete slab. You'll see some of these cracks have been ground out. You see behind me, some of them have been actually taped with an epoxy, as well as, I believe this is a fiber tape, to prevent any cracks from happening in the micro topping slab that we have going on. Let's jump back here and then we'll touch base with Eric in a moment. This, again, spray foam and exposed framing, but you're going to work your way into the front of the house here, and this is all plaster. So again, 1/2 inch blue board with a single coat veneer plaster over the entire surface, smooth finish on the walls as well as the ceiling. You'll notice that, here we have a light hanging down. We actually cut all our lights in after. In this situation, it makes more sense. The electricians prefer to do it that way, but they're also great. They wire all these temporary lights so we can continue to work. This becomes our washer dryer area, as well as a mechanical closet. We recently upgraded to a Reno hot water heater. It's the RUC 98. This feeds all, I believe, 5 or 6 bathrooms in this home. And I know the homeowners tested it out and it keeps up with their demands. So definitely an upgrade over the traditional water heater that they had prior that was having a real hard time keeping up with the multiple showers and children in this home. So let's hop over, touch base with Eric. What's up, Eric? What's going on?
Good.
So Eric's with Giordano Custom Concrete. Basically what we got going on today, we're doing some patching and prep for the micro topping slab.
Yes.
So walk me through that product. I know I got a sample here.
Yep.
So this is what the homeowner selected. This is the natural finish of it, right?
It is, yes. No integral color. That's a natural product, engineered. That's the way it's made.
So who makes this product?
Durham Engineered Products makes it. They're out of New Jersey. They're based out of New Jersey.
Okay.
And it's a semi-self-leveler. Not
Okay.
quite as wet as a self-leveler.
Right.
So we do trowel it and we re-trowel it like regular concrete.
So that's, you had mentioned that before, because I know in my experience, the self-leveler, you pour it down, you try to get as level as possible, you work quickly, and you can, that's it. So this you can actually trowel, you get it pretty close, and you had used special knee boards, right?
Spiked knee boards.
Yeah.
And then we re-trowel it one time, and it gives it some characteristics of natural concrete.
Okay.
You see some burnishing from the trowel marks.
Right.
So it's a really unique look.
Okay.
You know.
So this is, and the goal down here was to have polished concrete floors, but being that the floor is kind of irregular in spots and different colors, this is going to give us that monolithic look of a polished concrete.
Exactly.
Walk me through, so the joints back here are all taped up. Is that a fiber mesh tape?
We put a fiber tape down with some epoxy over some cracks that weren't filled previously.
Sure.
Looks like they filled the other ones with some hydraulic cement. They look solid. They've been down a while.
Yep.
So I'm going to leave those.
Okay.
And now we'll come in, our next step is we'll do an epoxy over the top, which is going to seal the surface and create a good bond. And we'll broadcast a sand on it.
Okay.
Till it won't take any more sand.
Now, does that sand, is that for bite for the Durham?
It will. It'll grab. The sand will grab to the epoxy and then in turn grab the the semi-self leveler.
Okay.
We use the same type of application primer with our self levelers. It's the same type of situation. So the epoxy will also give us a vapor barrier too, which is probably.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not needed down here. We don't have a ton of moisture issue, but with the spray foam on the walls and that additional
it will help with vapor transmission. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So through the process, we have the primer that will go down.
Yep.
And then followed by, that trowelable material, the Durham. So Durham, what particular product does it?
This is called Param SSL, semi-self level.
Okay.
It used to call. It used to be called Pentamento. They changed the name.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure why. They did last year. They do that every now and again.
Right.
But it's a good product. We've been working with them. Victor over there at Durham.
Yep.
Good company.
So that will go down in a day. You'll let that set. You'll trowel it twice.
Yep.
And then the following day you come through with a buffer.
We will. We'll just use a swing machine and give it a light buff with the screen.
Yep.
Usually I'll do 100 grit. We don't want to take anything off.
Right.
Kind of want to knock anything down. It'll take off any fine lines. We'll give it a vacuum and we'll put 2 coats of sealer on. Usually we use an acrylic urethane mix or an acrylic, something like that. It's water-based, breathable.
Okay.
We're not going to get any smell.
Right.
The solvent-based sealers are tough when you're in a basement because how it smells for 2-3 days.
Well, let me ask you this. Beyond that, so that's kind of where your process stops. You guys seal it.
And we'll put a floor finish after that, which is a sacrificial finish. So it's not a wax. It's a no buff.
Okay.
But that finish can be reapplied by the homeowner or janitorial company very easily with a microfiber cloth. It'll fill in fine scratches.
Okay.
We sell products similar to that for hardwood floors. It kind of makes the floors look.
It's you said it's not a wax, but it works in.
It's not a wax where you have to buff it. It's a no buff acrylic floor finish.
Gotcha.
It's like an 18% solids. You can get it at big box improvement stores or online. It's very easy to use.
Let's talk real quick about maintenance. So she moves down here. This becomes her work, her design studio.
Yep.
How are we cleaning the floors and how often?
Well, typically we clean the floors. We like to vacuum. Sand is the biggest, bringing in things that are harsh. And then after you vacuum and clean it, you could use a Swifter. Simple green works nice.
So really
nothing abrasive.
Nothing abrasive. So any of the cleaning products are going to do just fine. The traditional home cleaning products.
Hot water, all that. That'll all work. And then if it does get too much you know, patina over the years.
Right.
And it needs a couple coats of floor finish. You can apply that as much or as little as you want.
That's awesome.
You can do it once a year, twice a year. Some people never do it.
Cool.
So.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's an easy system, and it's concrete. You get a burst pipe or a flood, you mop it up and move
Right.
on.
That's the beauty, especially down here in a basement in an area that she's going to use for work.
Exactly.
Very cool. Well, we're excited to see the process.
All right.
Thank you for chatting.
All right.
So over here, this room here is also plastered. This is actually going to be their kid room. They want a space for their kids to be able to dump their toys and not worry about it. A door will go on and they'll close it. This will be their space. They can make a mess of it. So the walls and the ceiling, plaster finish, nothing crazy like the Baltic birch that we're gonna do throughout. A few details that you'll see is these columns out here. You probably saw one in the kids' room as well. That one's gonna stay remaining exposed, and we're gonna paint the brick. But out here where the Baltic birch is, we're actually gonna wrap these in the Baltic birch column. So this entire space is gonna be polished concrete with Baltic birch with those small little 1/8 inch gaps, and it should look pretty incredible. So I just got off the phone with the plumber. Apparently the drain I ordered is incorrect, which I swear I ordered exactly what he told me to. So we're gonna head over and figure out what is going on site to make sure we deliver this project by the end of the day. We're over here at Boston Harbor, Reno. Plumber's got the drain that he needs now to finalize that powder room. And we're gonna check in with Ken and Geno, see what they're up to, as well as the electricians who are finally installing that under cabinet lighting. And I say finally because it was on me, not you guys. So Ken's working on the appliance panels. I'm gonna put him on the spot again. So this was a change on our part. We originally were gonna go painted, and we switched to all walnut. So if you guys can see over here, this has been kind of a focal point of the entire renovation, kind of cramming as much as we can into one spot. Washer, dryer, entire AV closet, some storage above the refrigerator and the refrigerator itself. To the left of the refrigerator is that plumbing column that, again, was one of the most difficult things that we've dealt with on this project, getting to relocate and just find a halfway decent solution for it. So what are you starting with?
Starting with the freezer drawers.
Okay.
Gonna work our way up.
Cool.
And then over.
Each freezer drawer has its own panel. The refrigerator has a single panel. Right. And then up top, what are we doing up top?
It's one single panel that will lift up.
So lift up panel here, and then the AV closet?
That one also lifts.
And then the washer dryer.
Opens.
Single door.
Single door.
Sweet. And then as far as the rest of the kitchen, we're basically wrapped up here. We get some final adjustments on the doors to do. Yep. We get our light rail installed. This was a big detail that you and I worked on, is that light rail being continuous and then basically morphing into our Caesar stone shelf over there, which Geno just wrapped up siliconing, right?
That's correct.
So underneath is a pretty cool detail that, again, we worked on for quite some time, is that we have this 3/4 inch channel that Brian is working on installing the name escapes me. Well, the light, Heffala makes it. And then in the back, we're doing a plug mold. So all our receptacles will be back here, and then the LED strip will be to the forefront of the cabinet, which will also run into the stone. We stopped the outlet short of the stone just because of difficulties applying or adhering that small stone piece in the back. But what that does is allows us to have this entire backsplash as one piece of stone without any interruptions or any receptacles in it. One of the details that we added to all the undercab is this lighting, and traditionally we like to use this aluminum extrusion that gets installed into a dado slot made by Infinex, and then we use this frosted clear diffuser that clips into that track. So this right here, as you can see, it slips into 3/4 inch dado. Yep. So we cut a 3/4 inch dado into the bottom of our shelf, or our under cabinet, and then this gets popped up into it and it's held on by these small teeth. And what gets fed through this track is this LED tape that's made by Rev-A-Shelf. You can order it in different colors. This particular one that we're using here is the 4300, and this will run in the track. The nice thing about this is a lot of times you'll see this stuff installed on under cabinet, and while it does a good job of lighting up the space on the counter, when you get up close or you're looking under the cabinetry, you see all these LEDs individually, and to me that looks pretty messy. So that's why we use this frosted diffuser to help disperse that light over. So if you look under here, you can see with our Caesar stone shelf, that track starts way over here, and it lines up perfectly with the painted under cabinet light rail that we installed underneath all the cabinets. So that LED, that extrusion will run continuously with the LED all the way. So you have a continuous light source lighting up the top of the countertop, which is great for accent, but also great for working on the counters for additional lighting. So we are basically in our punch phase here at our Boston Harbor job. Ken and Geno probably have a day or two. Yes, it was a nightmare yesterday. They didn't let Ken in for like 20 minutes or something like that, he said. Today?
Today, yeah. They had to come down with me.
Door broken or no? This building is difficult to work in, but we are in the punch phase and we're wrapping up, so we'll get it done. We are here in our other south end project. This is a full gut reno on our basement, the Worcester Street reno. First things first, I want to show you my mess up. Basically, I mark where the faucet goes. I set my vanity height. I always intended to do an undermount sink. I changed the design. I never relay that to my plumber. And now here I am. I open the wall up, I rip off this tile at 55 bucks a square foot and relocate the plumbing. Make it right. I got this awesome concrete vessel sink by Oasis Custom Concrete. They're building it. It's actually not I guess it's not considered a vessel, more of a vanity top sink, but super cool. It's gonna match this tile, the gray tile floor. He poured it, I believe, just the other day, hopefully install tomorrow. And we get some really cool brass Newport brass fixtures for that, all wall mounted, similar to our Boston Harbor reno. We get the total wall mounted toilet, the whole carrier is behind this tile, and then you got your buttons on the wall. As you see, this is a Mercury Mosaic white diamond tile. Depending on the way you look at it, changes the shape of it, right? Here's the really cool part of this bathroom. Zero threshold here for the shower. Everything is continuous. You can see right here that tile is totally flush. And what we're looking at here is a Schluter linear drain with a tileable cover. I talk about this a lot, but now the water pitches from here down to this drain, hits this one, and if it happens to make it across, it's gonna hit that one as well. But yes, I mean, there's gonna be some residual water that makes it out of the shower. I mean, it's a small space. We didn't want a door. So what we did is we ran that waterproofing out of the shower. And also a quick little note here is that the radiant, it's all radiant flooring. We actually ran that heat cable throughout the shower. And for you guys that are gonna do that with the Dietra system, you also have to apply the Curdy membrane on top of the Dietra because that cable has to be 100% waterproof before you install tile. So that Mercury Mosaic diamond tile runs all the way to this corner. From here, we have a natural, basically no cuts. We just kind of let the design run wild back. Here's our brushed brass, Newport brass shower fixture. It's a great finish, one of my favorite. I've used it in my personal home as well. And you guys can see. So you can see that water rushing right down to the drain there. and very little of it makes it past. You're gonna get some splash out into the bathroom, but nothing that a little bath mat or, you know, a quick wipe after can't fix. But let's talk about this window, looking out into this gorgeous backyard. Nice big window. You can see that entire private backyard back there. It's all fenced in with a ton of greenery. Let's make our way out. Actually, let me stop you here. Here's something that we built in the shop, all white oak. This is a mitered face. Let me grab the drawer front real quick here. So it's a mitered box, and we have some hidden drawers behind it. And then this will be the drawer front that when it shuts, you have that nice miter detail right there. It's gonna look super cool. And yes, it is a little short. That is the design intent, and there's actually another false drawer front that will cover that gap. So this will pull out totally separately. A super cool vanity that we built in our shop and had it finished with a clear polyurethane. Let's make our way out to the living room here. So Ken and Geno have built this awesome built-in in our shop as well. We paired it, you know, the white oak with the Chantilly lace face frame. So the top is actually a face frame cabinetry. These are solid 1.5 inch shelves, just to give it some weight and actually make it look a little bit more beefy on the top. And then the lower section is all white oak as well, with white oak interiors. We basically maximized our space. You'll see that haunch in the back. That actually goes around the foundation footing. So there's plenty of storage, plenty deep. The center section is cut out for a television. You can see the blue tape mark back there where all of our wiring is. And then the two end cabinets have these big white flat panel doors. No detail on them, so super modern, but mixed with the traditional inset face frame, which pairs well with the kitchen. But I want to showcase this staircase that Mike has been working on. Mike and Cal. So Cal is over at our other project, working on the other staircase. These guys are crushing staircases.
Lots of stairs.
But I don't want to do too much of the talking, but real quick, basically I came up with this design that I wanted. We were dealing with headroom issues, and we were only able to do so much because we have a unit above us. Their staircase lands here. We can't encroach into their unit. When we did some demo, we realized this wall where I'm pointing actually wasn't even supported. So we actually added some steel up there. We can take a look at that in a moment. But back to the stairs. I wanted a super clean, super streamlined, cool looking oak stair, and I'm gonna call it the infinity stair because it basically miters all the way up or folds all the way up. And that riser, you can't really see unless you're seeing it from the side, but it actually has an 8 degree, I thought it was 7, but they corrected me. Yeah. It's an 8 degree back pitch. What that allows us to do is get our overhang per code, and basically shrink the stair that way as much as possible.
Yeah, get the tread down.
Exactly. So walk me through the process here, because I knew how I drew it. I knew how I designed it. I knew what I wanted to look like. It looks incredible, but it was a challenge putting it together.
Definitely a challenge, yeah. So all the stair stringers were CNC cut, which you saw previously with LVLs.
Right.
And then, we got that installed and everything was, perfectly level. And then we came through and started just scribing. That's the name of the game. Scribe nonstop.
A couple different ways that we attached things here. We didn't want any exposed fasteners. We had the ability to hide everything.
Yeah.
So the majority of it is, how are you hiding that?
Pocket hole screws from the back, anywhere I could, and then, in conjunction with dominoes. Mm-hmm. So from each tread to riser, I put, I think there's like 4 or 5 dominoes. So that will hold the bottom of the riser to the tread. And then on the back side of the stringers, I came through the pocket hole jig and got, probably two screws on the back side per stringer. And so as we went up, I ran into some issues up at the top where I really couldn't get my hand in there on the back side. So what I was doing is I was pocket holing in conjunction with the dominoes straight down, and then the seam in between the riser and the next tread, all those are also dominoed. And then just a handful of screws that are tucked on the back side, so the next riser will cover it as well.
Gotcha. So dominoes pocket
holes anywhere we could, and there's a handful of screws that are in the face, but they're buried by the next
The
riser.
riser, perfect.
And
So
lots of glue.
the dominoes are basically similar to a biscuit joint, but you know it's more of a mortise and tenon, and it's a tight fit,
Yep.
and it's very precise. Which in this case, I mean, having everything line up makes a big difference. And one thing that we discussed early on is we wanted this detail here, and mind you, we have some plaster patching. We wanted this detail here, and we talked about possibly mitering it, but for stability and for ease of installation and worrying about stuff opening up, we actually ran our riser and dropped our tread on top of it. And you and Cal did a great job paying attention to color variation, making sure that stuff looked as one piece. I mean, this is a perfect example. I can't see the seam there.
Yeah, that's what we try to pick everything out beforehand and try to, I guess color match and grain match as best as we could.
All right, so final question I have on this staircase, because I know you're busy, the scribing. And now, I think you guys split it up. Correct me if I'm wrong, you did the treads and Cal did the risers, or a mix of both?
And then once we hit like in between, I think, because Cal had jumped over to Pembroke.
Right.
And the majority of it was...
But you guys, so it was a
yeah, I don't know, because there's some treads that Cal did and a couple risers that I did.
Collaborative effort.
Yeah, that's right. It was just,
what were you using to cut this stuff?
Anything and everything.
Right. Grinders, files, jigsaw.
We had the jigsaw with a Collins foot on it. We'd rough it with the Capex, put a 20-degree back bevel on it, then start scribing in, and Rotex.
Perfect.
Jigsaw, file.
So the reason you typically do that 20-degree back bevel is to eliminate the amount of material that you have to sit there and scribe. So you put that 20-degree back bevel on up right before the face. You have that square edge, and then that way, here we go. Perfect. This is exactly what I need to see.
Yeah.
So that's an example of probably maybe a mess up, maybe a test piece.
Nope.
Oh.
Won't tap it all the way in yet.
So that's our final riser right there. And what we're gonna do is transition from that to white oak flooring up top. And then also our signature at this point, we're going to run tile and spill into the entryway. We'll get some shots of that when it gets installed, but basically spill the tile in and then run oak into it. And then that will transition our material from tile, wood, down to polished concrete. Mike, absolutely incredible job. I owe you and Cal a lot of thanks and appreciation. I appreciate it. We are at one of our South End projects here. We have 4 flights of stairs that we've basically reconstructed from an aesthetic standpoint. Everything from rebuilding some of the risers to level out the treads, to replacing the treads with a walnut. We also have these existing balusters which we doctored up, repainted, and then a number of them are actually replications. So we took one of these and sent it to one of our mill shops, and they made replicas of the existing so we could replace some of the more damaged ones. But we're starting here. We're actually 1 level up from the street in a traditional brownstone here in the South End. This is the first staircase. So there's actually, this one brings you down to the street level. This is one of the more simple flights of stairs in this unit because it's a straight shot. There's 1 flight below this that brings you down to the basement level, but we actually didn't touch that one. One cool detail you'll notice on these as we make our way down here is that on the 3rd step up, you'll actually see the face of the nosing start curving more and more as you walk down. So each one of these are fit, and then we moved our jack miter back and added this curve. And this is all to replicate the existing condition. The other thing we also did is all of these railings were sent out to Freddie over Period Craftsman on Instagram. He took these and brought them back to our a similar luster as they were originally. So this is basically the initial coat, and he's got some work on site where he'll actually buff this back to its gloss finish. So most of this stuff was sent off site, finished, brought back on site. Cal's working upstairs on the next flight, but he's taking his time putting the railings back together, as well as putting all these balusters in. A lot of people have noticed that this railing's awfully low. This is existing. So it's not in our budget to restructure this entire railing, especially with these, gorgeous curves. It would just be, from a cost standpoint, wouldn't make a lot of sense. So we're replacing it exactly with what was there, just again, repainted, refinished. So this handrail, you can see actually another cool detail down below here is that they replaced all the nosing and really took their time to make these curves sweep and just kind of flow with everything else. Same thing with this handrail up here, how it dives into the scotia underneath the stairs. Each piece is really well thought out. Have a little bit of work here with the oak floor. We get a tie in, and then we'll do some refinishing on the oak. I'd love them to replace the entire floor with walnut, but I think for right now, we'll stick with the oak. Again, an original newel post. This was also finished, and then this handrail going up, same thing. Again, Cal's up top here on this staircase. He's working on getting these balusters installed. Similar detail here, where the front of the nosing starts curving on the first three, and then they straighten out. But you're gonna notice up top, this staircase starts to curve. And then as you go up, they curve a little bit more and more. But let's take a look at what we got going on up here. What's up, man?
Hey guys.
So walk me through, let's take a step back here. The original stair treads, this outside nosing was applied after the balusters, right? They had a dovetail on them.
These have a dovetail. They sat into the tread.
And that nosing held them on, right?
No, nosing held them on. So this sat flush with your tread, and this recessed back up into your railing.
So obviously, for a number of reasons, we're not replicating that detail. Right. Mainly due to cost, but how are we now fastening them?
So because these are all slightly different, we are drilling these out to 1.25 inches to accept this into the baluster. Mm-hmm. And then we are plumbing it up from that point. We plumb down from the bottom of the railing to find our center of hole, drill out our hole with a forcer bit.
Yep.
Plop this in with some PL.
So you say 1.25 inches, that's, I assume, smaller than this, so it's actually hiding.
Exactly.
So you're setting this entire existing dovetail here, you're setting this in a PL, which is a construction adhesive. Yep. So how are you plumbing from this point? A laser line?
Yep. Taking my laser from here. Got my mark here already.
Gotcha.
But this finds me, I take reference off of my center of the hole in the previous hole in the bottom of the railing.
So he's got his laser, there's a dot here in the center of the hole for the baluster. And these are existing from the handrail when it was removed. And then that dot is transferred from the hole above down to a piece of tape you applied here. And then at that point you take your pencil, you mark your center, and then you can go to town with your forcer bit. Cool. So working our way up, you're just gonna follow this handrail and kind of let that dictate where everything lies.
Right. Every twist and turn changes everything moving up as we move forward. So it's step by step at this point.
Gotcha.
No pun intended.
So this is an awesome detail, and I think you guys did an incredible job on this entire project. But I have to say, Cal, these are probably some of my favorite views of this staircase. Removing, basically you're scribing this everywhere. You're scribing it to fit, running this long, and you're replicating and following that curve around your tread and recreating these jack miters with that curve integrated. And then transferring it up here to your nosing.
Yeah, that was a fun challenge.
So walk me through, I guess, real quick, how you, what was your thought process or your step-by-step on figuring out how to get that curve replicated there?
Luckily, based off of the existing stair treads, we had a rough dimension to go off of. First thing was to scribe to my back, slide it in, catch this scribe, leaving my rough length long, and then I would catch my point here.
Gotcha.
And it followed off the tread below.
And you build
the riser below.
And then you build off with your traditional overhang for that nosing. And
I would cut my jack miter, the Capex, scribe this cut in roughly. I'd make the cut only once with the jigsaw.
Right.
Cutting both pieces. This and the tread.
Doctor that in. So you guys, all of these treads, because we're working with existing framing, had to be, fastened down from the face. Yeah. So you and Mike worked on a system where you guys used a screw and plug system. Yeah. Everything got glued, screwed down, and then you guys took basically your walnut scraps and plugged everything, right? Yeah. And then we sanded it down and we applied. This is a I believe a Bona Traffic. I will have to confirm with that. I'll make sure I note that in our comments, but this is a Bona Traffic semi-gloss finish on this. Let's jump up another level here. So this was salvaged from a yard down the street. There's Restoration Resources. Basically, as people are renovating some of these places in the South End, they're removing existing newel posts, railings, handrails, I mean, everything down to, the gates in front of the lower basement stairs. And they're putting these in basically a basement of a place. And I took a ride over there one day and I saw this one, and I remember sending a picture to Cal and Mike and saying, hey, what does this one look like? And it almost is identical to the one in the basement, which is great because when you walk up on your entry, which is one level up from the street, you have that really nice detailed one. And then in the basement, and then on the second level, which is your sleeping level, you have this more dumbed down, simplified version. Previously, they had basically a box store turn newel post that just really didn't fit the space. So they're doing a great job basically coping this into the newel post. And then the next challenge, which we're gonna work on next, will be that handrail that dives into this, working our way up. But jumping into this staircase, as I said earlier, is stuff is starting to curve more and more. So now we have a wind that starts on the landing, winds out, straightens out for about 3 steps, and then starts winding again. You can see this detail again. I mean, this is just an awesome, awesome detail, how that jack miter and overhang just kind of flows with the staircase and works its way, continuously up, and then again, follows that nosing, and this is all replicating the existing details here. And then we're at our final stair that goes from the second sleeping level to basically the roof deck access, as well as another living room. And this one's a little bit more simple. It starts out with a curved tread, but it winds in more of a geometric fashion. And then you get up to here, again, winds in a geometric fashion. These are the turn posts that I had mentioned earlier that they had down at the master bedroom level. Just doesn't fit the space, but up here we're going to refinish these handrails. We're gonna actually remove these mitered handrails up top here, replace them with a curved section, and then replace these balusters, which we had replicated at our mill shop, with something that matches the existing ones. All right, guys, so that's a wrap for today. For daily updates, pay attention to my Instagram story. I try to keep you guys updated as much as possible. If you guys like this video, make sure you give me a like. If you guys want some future updates and be the first to see those, make sure you subscribe. As always, we appreciate it, and take care.